Pete Rose died at the age of 83, a name you probably never heard of. Pete Rose was a legendary baseball player, and he started in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, played for like 25 years. He's the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball history. Has more base hits than anyone who ever played.
What team?
He played for a few teams, most noted as associated with the Cincinnati Reds. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Tominator, Tom Chericello. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Hello, Morgan.
Hello, Tom.
October 1st, former President Jimmy Carter is 100 today.
He's alive?
Yeah, the only president we ever had that made it to 100.
That's crazy. He must be pretty healthy. What's the trick, you think?
Clean living. Like
Does he drink?
That's a good question. I don't know. I doubt he drinks in excess if he does drink. Mm-hmm. His wife died a couple years ago, but he loved his wife. They were married for like 70 years or some crazy amount of time like that. And, he was, most people think of him as like not a good president, but a good man.
Okay.
Like, now he did get a lot of bad luck when he was president. Like they had these oil embargoes, just a lot of stuff happened that kind of he couldn't control, nuclear accidents, oil embargoes, war in the Middle East. I could go on and on. So he did kind of catch a bad luck there. But, he graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis, was a peanut farmer. His family had a peanut farm in Georgia, business.
Wow. Peanuts grow on the ground.
But he made a lot of money. He was wealthy, and then he became governor of Georgia, and he got elected president. Very close election in 1976, but I think most people, he was a humanitarian, and like both sides of the aisle liked him. Like he would get along with Republicans. He was a Democrat, but he would get along with both sides. He lost re-election to Ronald Reagan in a landslide, but he is 100 today. He's in hospice, so I don't know how much longer he's going to live.
Wow. Yeah, he's definitely, usually when you're in hospice, that means you only got weeks.
He's been in hospice for like a year.
Oh.
Or some crazy amount. I'm like,
what? That sounds
I'm not
horrible.
a medical expert. Like, how do you define hospice?
But usually if you're in hospice, like, it's the worst of the worst. So this man's just dragging out in pain.
On his second day in office, you're too young to remember this, but a lot of guys who didn't want to go to Vietnam, they would flee to Canada or some other countries. Mm-hmm. And it was very controversial. And when the war ended, a lot of people thought they shouldn't be allowed back.
Yeah.
They're draft evaders.
Right.
And on his second day in office, he pardoned all the Vietnam, if you want to say,
escapees,
draft evaders.
So how do you feel about that? I
have mixed feelings. Vietnam was a very divisive thing. I was a very, very young kid during Vietnam. But on the one hand, maybe we should have never even went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, a lot of guys gave their lives, for our country. I don't think it's fair to them. Like my 18th birthday, I had to go down to the post office and register for the draft.
And were you scared? Like, did that kind of feeling freak you out?
You don't really think about it. Like I used to ask my dad. I mentioned that he was like a World War II hero, and like I used to say, "Weren't you scared?" And he's like, "We really didn't think about it. We just did what we had to do. We didn't stop and think about, oh my gosh, I might die."
Right. How many people escaped to the other countries? Like, was it a lot?
How many fled?
Yeah.
I think it was in the thousands. When we hear about Vietnam, there's so many movies about Vietnam, but it really wasn't compared to like World War II. I mean, where we sent like a million guys. Vietnam was maybe 100,000, so it wasn't as big a conflict. But I guess what Carter wanted to do was, unite the nation. Look, let's welcome these guys back home. It was a bad, the whole idea going there. I think most people think we should never even went to Vietnam. Most historians would say, but so he was trying to reunite the nation. But I get the other side where people that just never forgave those guys for just like checking out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really, unless you walk in their shoes, you can't know.
I don't think I'd be wanting to get drafted. So I can understand the feeling of, well, I'm not volunteering to do this. I don't want to be forced.
You know what? I don't have, me personally, such an issue with what those guys did. There are people I've encountered that join the military for all the benefits. Like there are a lot of benefits, like great retirement, a lot of benefits of being in the like doing time in the military. I have one person I know, his sister was in the military for years, and she just kept collecting all these checks, and they call her to the Middle East, and all of a sudden she has a bad back.
Yeah, well, that's wrong. That's like fraudulent, right?
But
it's like you're taking advantage knowing you're not going to do what you're expected to do for receiving those benefits.
She got all
so
these
that
benefits,
definitely is wrong.
So that
But that's different than just straight up fleeing so you can't get drafted. That was like, I'm taking advantage of these benefits knowing full well if I get called somewhere, I'm not going. And that is misleading for sure.
That's my problem with big government in general, is like leaving the military out of it. There's so many programs that people are just ripping off, like whether it be food stamps or Medicare, Medicaid. I could go on and on and on. Or during COVID, you know how many people collected unemployment during COVID? They didn't have a job to begin with. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Like, I talk about World Trade Center, like all these people that, got permanent disability for being, at ground zero.
Yeah.
I'm not saying a lot of people were not injured during, that, but it's like everybody seems to just be gaming the system. Like, if you want my opinion, the answer is, if there's nothing to rip off, they should get rid of all this crap.
Right.
If there's nothing to rip off, it's like,
don't make it such a benefit.
These programs, most of them weren't even around in like 1950. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, there was no, like so many of these government programs only started in like the 1960s. But I remember I had a job in college, and they laid us off for the summer. It was like a little part-time job. I did it around my school schedule. I was making like $5 an hour or something and they laid us off for the summer. Everyone was like, we were all mostly young college kids working there, and they're like, we were going to the beach, and then a bunch of them we're going to collect unemployment first. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, we got laid off, and we went to the unemployment office, and so we were going to the beach. And I felt like guilt, and we were getting checks like we had to go back every 2 weeks for our check, and like I felt like really guilty about it. Like, this isn't right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But then the job did hire us back in September.
Okay, but that's different because you were laid off, right?
Yeah, but so
that was more genuine than these people who were truly scamming the system.
I don't know. Right? I just felt I was doing something wrong.
But you weren't.
I mean, I paid into that. You pay into unemployment, like people who have like money taken out of their paycheck. It's insurance. That's what unemployment is.
Okay.
It's insurance. So you're paying into it. I paid into that, but I just felt like I could have worked. I could have got another job.
You could have found another job. That's why you felt guilty.
But I didn't want another job. I wanted to go back to my old job.
Yeah, and then that did end up
What would have happened is I would have found another job and have to quit after like a couple months.
For the job that you actually wanted.
And they used to ask me at unemployment, are you looking for a job?
Yeah, I mean, how do they really prove that? How do you prove you're actually looking for a job? Like, that's also an easy thing to scam. Oh, here's an email I sent to someone sending my resume. Here's a screenshot, but.
Now I'll get into another, I don't want to say scam, but to change the subject, we come to you from, Sarasota, Florida, and obviously last Thursday and Friday, Hurricane Helene devastated Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and Tennessee. A lot of where we live is like a war zone. I mean, you drive down the streets and like every house has all their furniture like piled up outside, like their mattresses and their beds and all kinds of stuff. And like, I feel terrible. And a lot of these people, most of them probably don't have flood insurance. It's flood,
right?
Like the majority, not totally. I don't want to bore our viewers, but you can have like wind damage is covered under normal homeowners insurance. But flood is normally not covered under a typical policy. You have to buy separate flood insurance.
Well, so what about these people who have homes that were not in an indicated flood zone, but then it ended up flooding? So obviously, you're probably not going to add flood insurance on your policy if you're not in a flood zone and there weren't a history of flooding there, right? But now these homes did flood. So are they just out of luck?
Well, now they're out of luck. Like, And the only people I talked
It's
to
so crazy.
this
Insurance should
weekend,
just cover it all. Like, why these little specifics? So you have fire insurance too? Is that one?
well, fire is covered under your normal policy.
Okay, that's just under the standard.
Yeah,
Flood is like an
I never heard. Very few policies don't cover fire.
What about that guy's Tesla in Siesta Key that literally, apparently now, Teslas, that flood, start on fire and it burned their whole house down? Mm-hmm. So would that be the car insurance, actually?
No, that would be their homeowner's insurance.
The homeowner's insurance.
But,
can they sue Tesla?
Now, the insurer, what will probably happen there is the people's insurer will pay for their house, and their insurance company will go after Tesla. Hey, this was your fault. We want the money back.
Yeah.
But the people can get paid right away. But so many people I talked to in the last few days, they're like, we didn't buy flood insurance because we never flooded. This is like the first time that happened. And now what they're doing is so many people I've talked to, they're applying to FEMA to try to get government money. And that's what I'm talking about. Getting back to our last topic is, I'm not saying, obviously it's not a scam, but it's like, these are houses worth $2 million. Should they be getting government money? I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, they don't limit who can apply for that, right? Or do they? For the government?
No, anyone can apply, but I don't think they're going to be too
So
receptive.
your thought is, if you live in a $2 million house, you can just afford to fix it on your own.
No, you should have bought
we
flood
don't feel
insurance,
bad for you.
even though you never thought you need it.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough, though. I don't know if I have flood insurance. I have no idea.
That's a whole other issue for another day, but government just throws away so much money. And like every president or when they're running for office say, we're going to change this. It never changes, it just gets worse.
Yeah.
Like, don't get
And
me
where's
wrong.
this money come from? Aren't we in a shit ton of debt? Like,
Yeah,
I
we're in
just
debt
don't
up
get
to
it.
we'll never get out of debt.
Right, but that's
we
just
actually
weird.
did during Clinton's administration. We first time in forever we were out of debt.
Really?
Yeah, because the economy was rolling. And if the economy's doing well, the government takes in more tax dollars. Because if you make $1 billion a year next year, Morgan, you're going to pay a ton in taxes. Mm-hmm. So we should want everyone to make more and pay more in tax.
Yeah.
So during Clinton's administration, it did happen, but a lot of things really hurt the national debt. Like COVID killed us.
Oh, God, don't
Because
get me started.
and you can't blame the government. What are they supposed to do?
You can't blame the government for
well,
COVID?
I mean, you can't. It hurt the national debt because the government had to start giving people money basically.
Yeah.
Because what were we going to do? I mean, they had no job. I mean,
Yeah, but they're the ones that forced people to stay home and do this bullshit quarantine. So it's completely the government's fault.
well, I agree with you on that. It was just something no one ever thought would happen. They really weren't ready. The government did what they had to do.
Yeah, sure.
But the government throws away so much money, and I'm not going to get political about which countries we should be giving money to or not, but they throw away billions and billions
we
of
should
dollars.
start with just focusing on ours. If
Well,
you
that
don't
was my-
have money, you shouldn't be. If you were in debt, you wouldn't loan money to me, right? That wouldn't make sense. You didn't have money. So if we're in debt, why are we giving money to other countries that we don't have?
Well, maybe we should, instead of giving it to other countries, we should give it to people whose houses got blown away by flood.
Right. Do you see all these videos of homes that floated away? Or, I know someone here, his family's out in Georgia, and a tree literally just fell through his friend's house. They had to leave the house immediately. It's condemned. It almost killed him.
By the
Those
way,
people deserve the help.
TominatorLaw.com if you have a flood or hurricane damage specialist.
Yes, definitely.
But actually, hurricanes can be good for the economy because think about it. Do you know how many businesses are going to make money? Like construction.
Oh, other businesses that have to fix these.
Yeah,
there's damage.
Everything, it's going to help construction.
Roofers.
And then also suppliers, like material manufacturers.
Yeah.
It's going to keep people working and paying taxes
Yeah, it all
for
goes
years.
full circle, I guess, in a sense.
Now, insurance companies were going to say they're losing, but most insurers, people don't realize what they call reinsurance. Insurance companies buy insurance. Mm-hmm. So when they say, and then they may lose a ton of money from this hurricane, but they're writing that off against profits that they're making.
So you live in an apartment, correct? Do you have rent? Do you rent or you own?
I have a condo.
Okay. But so some people get renters insurance.
I have a friend that has renter's insurance. It doesn't cover flood. So
Can it? Can you get renter's insurance?
Probably buy insurance for anything.
Think of all those little places on the Key or even in Longboat. People, either rent or own those or rent them out. A lot of those flooded.
I think it was. I want to say. You can insure. I think it was Marilyn Monroe or somebody insured her legs.
Her legs? What the hell?
It was kind of a gimmick, like because they were so good looking, they're so valuable legs.
So what if someone like stabbed her thigh?
I don't think they ever expected to get paid, but it was just like a publicity stunt.
Don't people have to people who are really good with their hands like can kill you or something have to insure their hands or something? What is that? That's a thing. I swear to God.
I guess they could have like liability. Well,
no, there's a thing where or you have to do something if you're really good at
athletes
taekwondo or something. There's yes. Okay, I'm thinking of something totally different. Registering your hands as lethal weapons.
By the way, shout out to Subway again. I went there for lunch today.
Their footlongs are not $5 anymore.
They're not a foot long.
So what's
either.
the jingle?
There was a lawsuit, over that a couple years ago. They're not 1 foot long, and some jerk sued and won.
Dang. Well, so what was it? Did you get a foot long?
I didn't measure it.
But did you
I did
buy
get a foot long turkey breast
cost?
on wheat.
What did it cost?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't really look.
God, Tom's so rich. He doesn't even know the cost of his lunch.
It's not like that.
God, I wish I had that
problem. I don't care what
problem.
it costs. No, where did I go yesterday? Walgreens, and I got a Gatorade, big Gatorade, a bottle of water, and a Snickers ice cream bar. And I'm looking at it. It was the price was $3.79 for the Gatorade. I'm like, what the F? I'm like, so I took it anyway because I wanted Gatorade. And I'm thinking, I'm lucky that I could afford this. I don't know how people can.
Now, did you get the full Gatorade or the Gatorade Zero?
Zero. I only got zero.
The Zeros are so good. You can order those at Sam's Club. And I get them delivered.
You know what I'm going to do? I was reading the Gatorade and it has all the ingredients, which I never heard of.
Oh, it's so bad for you.
And then it has an 800 number if you have questions. One episode, I'm going to call the number. I'm like, well, what is in this?
Yeah. Say, what is this yellow 5? That shit's killing people.
Does anyone call an 800 number on the side of potato chips and ask questions?
No. But I've emailed some, I had gotten these, gummy vitamins once, and it was really hard to open the lid, and I emailed them to let them know. It's just some customer feedback. These lids are fucking impossible to open, and you should fix them. And they actually replied to me.
What people, have you ever, called, any company and, those people must have no life.
I did that, but I emailed it. I just didn't call. But to me, I actually was just trying to give them good feedback. Hey, you should fix this. Oh, my dad did that with bread. You should ask my dad about that. His whole wheat bread that he gets at Publix, they changed the formula or something. He was pissed. He called these people every day to talk about the formula of the bread. They fixed it and they told him go rebuy the bread and let us know if it's better. So my dad's that old person that has nothing else to do.
I won't. Have you ever sent food back at a restaurant?
If it's straight up totally wrong. Not if I ordered a steak medium rare and it came medium. But there's times where, if I don't like olives, I don't, and if it comes covered in olives, I'm probably going to ask them to switch it out. But I'm really nice about it. I'm not rude. Big
Joe and I were at the Hooters last Thursday. It was right, they lost power because of the storm.
Right.
While we were there, we had to leave. And but Joe ordered coleslaw as a side, and they gave him curly fries. And
I'm sure he kept the fries. But, in that case, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, I actually ordered coleslaw. So I don't know.
They were closing at 5. We were there it was 4 o'clock when they lost power, and they're well, you have to pay cash, and,
what if you
we're
didn't
closing.
have cash?
I think I probably overpaid because
I think you always overpay.
So anyway, I get home, and then I get a text that night from a friend of mine in another state. Are you okay? I'm like, Hooters lost power.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
I'm going through withdrawal.
But they were up and running the next day.
Yeah, a lot of other places were up and running, but the Key in St. Armand's, jeez, it was rough.
So our prayers go out. There's probably a few hundred people that died from this, at least. And,
horrible. There was some fires. I never thought there'd be fires during a hurricane that would kill people. Me and Trey drove, I don't know where exactly, to go check on a customer's house that night, and the power lines in the trees were sparking and starting on fire. First of all, why are the power lines running through the trees? Doesn't that seem like a fire hazard to begin with? And can we just put that shit in the ground already? This looks ridiculous.
A lot of the newer developments, the power lines everything's in the ground.
Put it in the ground. Right, but don't they update that over time? They start digging in the neighborhoods? The fact that they're starting on fire, the guy had to flee his house. He was just standing there and the fire people didn't even really look like they knew what the hell to do.
A lot of places that never had flooding, like Asheville, North Carolina, is in western North Carolina, close to the Tennessee border, devastated. Asheville, North Carolina. Our prayers go out to the people of Asheville. Have a good friend, Carr, living in Asheville. He's a big football fan that we talk Southeast Conference football, which we'll get to in a minute. But if you look at the pictures of Asheville, like these houses are gone.
I know. So then, like, what happens? I mean,
I doubt that. Asheville's like in mountainous
do you think
area.
these people just like leave and like start a life somewhere else? Like, what the hell do you do if like literally all your stuff it's just gone?
I think we're going to see in a lot of areas, this is going to lead to, in my opinion, a major drop in real estate values because people are just going to say, screw it.
Why would you ever want to rebuild there after what happened?
Or
I
they're
would just
gonna,
be scared of it happening.
They're just going to sell their house at a discount. Like I got a call from a friend of mine today who's next door neighbors. They're not rebuilding. The house worth like $2 million. And my friend called me. She goes, Tom, you can get this house. They just want out of here. You'll be able to. They're not going to rebuild. You'll have to do it. But you can get this house for way less than it would have been the day before the storm.
Are you going to do it?
I don't know. I feel like bad about taking advantage of
Well, if they're going to give it to someone else for the same price, what's the difference if you buy
I don't know
it?
if I want a house because I would like to have parties in the backyard.
I bet you
would. I would, but I mean, like, I don't want to maintain a house. Like, you know, I have to
pay people to do it
I pay
for
people
you.
to do it, and like you have to.
You get a cleaning lady, you get a lawnmower cutter person, you know.
There's a lot to it, and then, you know, so many things could go that you don't have to worry about on a condo.
Yeah, because they handle it. Like if a light bulb goes out or something, do they fix that?
Or like the air conditioning unit, or, you know, pool maintenance.
Yeah.
You have to have a pool guy come every week. So I don't know. I go back and forth on that.
I think you'd like having a pool. Pool parties every week.
That's right, with Tito's.
In Veer Hill. You could have them on like a monthly rotation.
So our prayers goes out to everyone affected by Hurricane Helene, and what can you say? I mean, it's terrible. Like, I don't want to get in right now. Like, people are saying these aren't natural disasters anymore. This stuff's happening too much. There's something going on.
Like what?
Like they're talking global warming or whatever.
Global warming cause hurricane. I don't know enough about it. Does
I don't
that
either.
cause hurricanes?
I don't know. I mean, then
also,
people
how do you
say-
stop it? Okay, sure. What are we supposed
Well,
to
they're
do?
saying like, you know, what causes global warming, like, you know, pollution and
All
you know,
right.
carbon
Do you
emissions.
actually think people are going to stop polluting though? I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't. But
They say we've come
how
a
do you
long
fix
way.
that?
Like, you know, like they say China's the worst. Like, pollutes really bad.
Just because of like machinery and buildings
and
and
all
cars.
the factories, and you know, they don't really
Yeah.
care. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've read. But like,
So
they say we've come a long way with like
pollution from these buildings and shit is then causing hurricanes to flood us.
I think people say that.
I'm not a scientist, so
I don't know. So, but again, if anyone needs any assistance, I'm not saying it to be self-promoting, but the insurance companies have professionals that they hire to not pay you a lot of times. You need it's like
you need a professional
You need a
too.
professional. It's like, you know,
Totally. And you want to get the most money you can for, you know, the devastation that you've been through and
I don't
you
like
get
it to
back up on
sound
your
like
feet
that.
again.
I just want you to get what you're
well,
entitled
what
to.
you're entitled to, for sure. But if they're trying to, you know, lowball you, and they shouldn't, they definitely need someone like you to be able to help them.
Sean Combs still trying to get bail. They're not letting him out.
Diddy. What's up with him now this week?
They say there's going to be potentially over 100 civil lawsuits. Like, that's not in addition to the criminal charge. That's people who allegedly he molested suing him.
Someone that was
They
there
want-
and like, I want to sue Diddy because he sexually assaulted
I mean, do you know, like, what it costs to defend a lawsuit, and then what if potential payout? Like, I mean, this could be
Can
insane.
these people band together to just be like in one lawsuit, or do they all have to be individual and have their own separate lawyers?
That's a good question. Like,
'Cause won't
I
people
would
do
say
that
it's-
sometimes?
It's well, there are instances like, say, obviously this would never happen. I'll make an example. You and I rob a bank together.
Yeah, we will not do that.
We won't do that. And then they arrest us. Like, the question would be, would we be tried together or separately?
Okay,
I
because
mean,
we were doing the same crime together.
I mean, it's the same event. It's the same occurrence.
But it depends if we both did different things.
Now,
But if you had a gun and I didn't,
we might try to sever a trial, like, and you know, the prosecution would obviously have a say in whether or not we could be tried separately. But the senator from New Jersey, recently, a couple months ago, got convicted, Robert Menendez. They tried his wife's. I don't think his wife's trial even started yet because they were both corrupt. Him and his wife.
Menendez?
He was a senator from New Jersey.
Okay, this just happens to be the same last name of the brothers on Netflix that killed their parents.
Yeah, they're no relation.
That's so weird. I was like, wait, what are you talking about the wrong thing?
Eric and Lyle Menendez.
Yeah.
I kept. You probably
I
never
just
heard of
watched
them
it.
until that.
No, yeah.
Because that was like way forever ago.
Yeah, that was a little weird one.
And that's an interesting story. There's no doubt in my mind they killed their parents, but
They admitted it.
you know why that even happened is they admitted to their shrink, and the shrink told.
Yes,
That
but then
shouldn't happen.
after they admitted to their shrink, they claimed their dad was raping them their whole lives, and then also the older brother was then molesting his younger brother. And what's just confusing about it is, well, why would you have never said that to the shrink? If you really were molested by your dad and you murdered him, the first thing you would say is, well, he raped me. I wasn't wrong, right? Because that kind of like makes sense. But they said it not even once to the shrink, you know? So people are like, well, were they actually raped? Because there was no past evidence. Like, no one really knew about it, like from their friends.
There's
like,
no medical records.
There was no medical records.
And you would think one of their friends would know.
I don't know, though. I don't. That's like such a horrific thing, right? Maybe they just kept it to themselves, but it just seems strange. They never mentioned it to the shrink, but then all of a sudden, when they go to jail, rape. But maybe it was true, but you'll never know. How do you prove that?
I think one of them got married in jail.
Yeah, they both got married in jail. What kind of freak?
I was going to say that.
How desperate of a female do you have to be to go find a murderer in prison that you didn't know prior, right? It's not like they were a friend and had known him. And then you marry the guy?
And
you're a loser.
That to me is like...
Loser.
I agree with you 100%. Like how troubled is that person that would marry a convicted murderer?
Yeah, and I Googled these women. They looked relatively normal. I was like, oh, they got to be like so ugly or something. Something's wrong with them.
Speaking of that, when I see like these teachers that are like having sex with like a 14-year-old, and the teachers are, a lot of them are hot. And I'm like,
hot teachers don't sleep with underage students.
What, you want this little 14-year-old with the,
little scrawny Twinkie boy?
I'm like, what the hell? What is wrong with them?
I mean, but it's still wrong no matter what.
It's wrong no matter what, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, you just can't even like try to justify it in your head at all. You're like, you could have gotten a normal person your age.
But
or 18.
I remember when that happened, like the Menendez brothers. But anyway, the senator from New Jersey is not related. But him and his wife were off the track. They were tried separately. I think his wife's trial probably hasn't even
What did they
occurred
do
yet.
again?
He took bribes.
Oh, okay.
He was a U.S. senator, took bribes from like foreign businessmen.
Got it.
To help him out. And his wife was in on it. His wife got like a Mercedes. They bought his wife a Mercedes. And then they found like gold bars in their house. I mean, all kinds of crap.
Well, so back to Diddy, the new rumor on the street is that Ashton Kutcher is married to Mila Kunis.
Yes.
And apparently Mila Kunis has moved out of the house because she knows there's going to be video footage coming out of Ashton Kutcher at these Diddy freak-off parties. And so she wants to, like, have immediately backed herself away from him. But people are pissed because they're like, first of all, Ashton Kutcher first kissed Mila Kunis when she was 14 years old on that 70s show,
yeah.
and he was 20. All right.
But that was a TV show.
Yeah, but you still don't have a grown man kissing a 14-year-old, right? And they claim that she lied about her age.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, okay. Like, you couldn't tell she
They
looked
don't
like a
check
fucking
for
child.
when someone gets on a TV show. They don't verify.
Yeah,
their age.
exactly. Like,
What the hell?
Yeah, I'm 15, right? Like, no one would believe it. But so, anyways, so apparently she's moved out. I don't know how true this is, but everyone's talking about it. And then people are also like, oh, it's the guy hiding in plain sight because he's a huge advocate for child sex trafficking. Like, he's very involved in like trying to help and bring money to the cause. And so people are like, oh, hidden in plain sight. Like, he's been helping the cause, but he's actually one of the freaks that's doing it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then also, him and Mila Kunis had defended that guy in the 70s show who had gotten accused
Danny
of
Masterson,
rape.
he went to jail. He's in jail for rape.
Yes, but they had written letters on his behalf during that whole case that was going on. So anyways, I don't know. They haven't like come out though and said, oh, this isn't true. Like, I'm still here with Ashton. So it will be interesting to see if that ends
Well,
up
I guess
happening.
I should take this opportunity to give Mila a shout out that she can come to Sarasota, Florida.
She's got kids, so you want to be a
No,
stepdad?
wait a minute. Time out.
But it
No,
will.
I like kids.
Yeah.
Other people's kids.
Yeah, that you don't have to take care of. But it will be interesting to see like what really comes of this. I mean, do you think we're ever going to find out the truth? There are videotapes. And it did cross my mind. Like at first, I'm like, he's totally going to be off to like Epstein. But the difference is there's no benefit to killing Diddy if the feds do have all the video footage because that will still exist with them. So these people are screwed anyway. So why would they kill him? You get what I'm saying?
I don't think they're going to kill him. He's not going to get the death penalty.
No, I mean someone murder him.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Epstein was murdered. They claim he killed himself, but everyone knows he was just murdered so he wouldn't talk. It doesn't matter if Diddy's dead because they already have the video footage of
I don't think
all
that's
the
going to happen.
parties.
I mean, he's Diddy. Like, I would think that.
What?
But it happened with Epstein, so who knows?
Right. That's my point.
You would think that they'd put him in, like, protective custody or something, like, extra
Yeah.
guards.
Yeah, like he deserves special treatment.
That's going to go on for, like,
a long time.
I mean, that's like 2 years out probably.
But so because he's not accepting bail, that just means he's in jail.
No,
the
they
whole
won't
time.
give him bail.
Oh, they won't give him bail. So the whole time this case is
Yeah.
going on, he just has to sit.
Yeah,
Is it jail or prison?
I don't know where they're holding him. I'd have to look that up. Like,
Yeah.
jail is like a lesser, prison is like, larger and more inmates and stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But like, that's going to be something that we talked about. Like I said, that'll probably go on. I wouldn't be surprised if that's still going for 2 years with appeals and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope the truth comes out about these other people that actually were involved because they don't deserve to
But
get away with it either.
these laws, and now we talk about scamming though. There's probably going to be at least some women that met
I
him
was
one time.
raped,
I
but
was
they
raped. Yeah,
weren't.
I want to
Yeah.
hire a lawyer and sue.
Totally.
As-
And
if
it's
they're
just,
not-
and that ruins it for the people that deserve justice and to be heard. And it's like the whole Me Too movement, right? Great movement. Like, I'll always support it.
I agree.
But then there's these evil people that just, jump on board and then try to take advantage of it. It's like you're defeating the whole fucking purpose of this. It's to like save the people that are true victims. And then it just ruins it for everyone else when they end up finding like the one liar in the case. And then no one believes you anymore. Like you can't really believe people.
I'm a big proponent of that because, like I mentioned in one prior episode, like when I started working, like I was a young guy and low-level employee, entry level, starting out in my career, and these like senior executives, it was like really bad. Like when you know,
Oh, yeah.
and like so I think it's great. Like there's a lot of bad guys. I mean, you see them on news like Bill Cosby,
Take
Harvey
advantage
Firestein,
of their power.
Danny Masterson, though, like several women, I think it was like 4 or 5 women claimed he raped them, but he had dated them all, I think, for real.
Okay.
And like in a couple of the trials, there were like mistrials. A mistrial is when the jury can't reach a verdict.
Right.
They have to either drop the case or do it over.
Well, and those cases are so tough because unless you go to the cops like right after it
And then
happens,
they-
once
yeah.
you wait, and I'm not saying I don't understand it. It's got to be a horrific thing to go through and you must be shocked and not know how to handle it. But once you wait, it's like you're really ruining your chances of, that person getting penalized because it's just harder to prove it.
And how do you defend like something that happened? I'm conflicted with some of these cases because if it happened 20 years before, like the witnesses aren't around, and
Well, that's who really remembers where were you on October 1st, 20 years ago? Like, you probably remember if you were on a date with a hot chick, but you're a rare person.
let me see, that would have been 2004. Okay.
Oh, I was with Kelly. She was so hot, 6 foot blonde.
I remember. But anyway, it's a good thing though overall. Like it's
Of course. I just hope everyone gets caught.
that'll be more for me.
God, Tom.
Oh. All right, now we're going to change the subject. Tonight is, I don't know that anyone out there cares, the vice presidential debate.
God. So who are they?
J.D. Vance is the Republican nominee.
I still haven't watched that movie.
and Tim Walz
Okay.
is the Democratic nominee for vice president. So 9 o'clock tonight.
Who are these guys? Tell me about them.
J.D. Vance is a younger guy, a senator from Ohio. Grew up really poor, picked himself up, went to Yale Law School, which is like many consider the best law school in the country. He married an Indian. His wife's Indian, like, Indian, Asian Indian.
Yeah.
She's successful also. They met at law school. She went to Yale also. And so he's Trump's running mate. And Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota. He's Kamala Harris's running mate.
All right.
He's like working class guy, was born in Nebraska, like worked in a factory at first, then went to some, small college, and then, moved to Minnesota, got into politics, like low level, city level elections, and then just moved up, was a high school football coach and teacher, and became governor of Minnesota. So it's very different stories. Vance is a young guy, like early 40s, and Tim Walz is like later 50s.
I mean, but so don't the reviews kind of have to like reflect the people running for president? So like, what's the point of this?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, usually
they're not going to sit there disagreeing with Kamala when she's picking him.
There have been exceptions, rarely in history where like a president, vice president didn't agree, but not in recent history.
Right.
You're right. They just pick somebody that
right.
sees
I
it
mean,
their way.
obviously they're going to back him up. So I guess they're going to sit here just.
I don't know if I have.
Maybe
nothing
they're going to
better
sit there
do.
defending Trump and Kamala.
If I have nothing better to do, I might turn it on for a few minutes.
Is it at 9 p.m.?
9 o'clock, yeah.
Nah, I won't be watching that.
All right.
You can tell me about it tomorrow.
All right. If I watch. Pretty big thing last night. Pete Rose died at the age of 83, a name you probably never heard of. Pete Rose was a legendary baseball player, and he started in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, played for like 25 years. He's the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball history, has more base hits than anyone who ever played.
What team?
He played for a few teams, most noted as associated with the Cincinnati Reds. He started with the Reds and played with them for many years. And he got a lot of trouble. In 1990, he was convicted of tax evasion because a lot of these athletes, when they retire, they make money they sign, they go to events. Like it could be at like an arena or hotel, memorabilia events. Like they'll sign baseballs or jerseys, and he didn't report that on his income taxes.
Oh, because he was getting paid to do it?
Yeah. They get paid. They can make a lot of money doing that.
So I don't get it. Oh, I guess they were paid cash back in the day.
Yes, for cash, yeah.
Yeah.
So he did 5 months, and you might know where this is, being from Illinois. He did 5 months in Marion, a Southern Illinois prison.
Marion?
Marion, Illinois.
No.
It's the very southern tip of Illinois.
Okay.
But that's a federal prison. He did 5 months for tax evasion. Then baseball banned him from the Hall of Fame, even though he has more hits because he gambled. And like they never proved that he bet against his team, but they did prove that he bet on his own team. It's just so you know, it's illegal for any baseball player to bet on baseball.
Just baseball or all sports?
No, they could go to a casino on the weekend. They just can't bet on baseball.
Right, I'm just saying, like, could a football player also not bet on their football team?
Correct.
Right, okay.
So that goes back to baseball instituted that in 1919, the Chicago White Sox threw the World Series.
Well, were they concerned, like, he could almost throw a game, hey, we're going to lose, and then he would just suck?
That's a concern that baseball has. So even though, and it's controversial, a lot of people disagree with the decision, he's not, they never allowed him in the Hall of Fame because he bet on baseball.
But they didn't care about the tax evasion? Are you kidding me?
I don't want to get into what a lot of great baseball players were not saints. So, like, tax evasion was really no big deal.
Any of these guys in sports are saints, all right?
But the reason that it became more controversial in recent years is because baseball used to be totally anti-gambling. And then, I guess it's like 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago, sports gambling became legal. And now the leagues all, so they could get some of that money, and now they joined up with they get a piece of money for people who gamble.
Okay.
So now if you watch a baseball game, you're going to see, like, when you're watching the game, you'll see, like, gambling signs.
What a turn. Yeah.
And, like, so now they went from being totally against it because
putting it on the freaking TV.
Yeah. The reason they were against it is because if, let's say they find out that, like, a game is fixed.
Well, I get that,
then no one's going to watch it.
Right. This is all fake.
So, like, anyway, what people said is okay. He bet on baseball. That's illegal. But now baseball's in that business. They're basically in the gambling business.
They're hypocrites.
They're hypocrites. So, but anyway, he died. He also.
How did he die?
They haven't disclosed. He was 83. They haven't given a reason for his death. But he also like the lawyer baseball when they investigated him for gambling, they hired a lawyer named John Dowd who did an investigation and come with all this evidence that he bet on baseball. So, and one thing Dowd said on a radio program was that Pete Rose also committed statutory rape in the 70s. Oh. And Rose sued him for defamation, and Rose lost because the guy was able to prove that Pete Rose did commit statutory rape.
Oh, God.
So at the time, the age of consent in Ohio was 16.
16?
And he was with a 16-year-old.
How old was he at the time?
Well, he's 80. He died at 83, so this was like 1970. So it would have been like 53. He would be like 30. And she said she wasn't 16. She was 14, which would have been below the legal age.
Oh, God.
So she signed an affidavit that she was with him when she was 14. So, he had a lot of, tax evasion, statutory rape.
Yeah.
He was.
This guy was a piece of shit.
He admitted that he gambled. He loved to gamble. He never.
I don't
stopped.
care about the gambling. Why do people care? If you want to lose your money, that's your own problem. I get why they don't want you betting on the games, though, because then you could throw it. But just in general, why do you care if someone's staring at a stupid game and says they want to bet $100?
I'm conflicted about Pete Rose because he wasn't the greatest. He wasn't the most moral person, but he played so hard. Like they called him. His nickname was Charlie Hustle because he was 110% every second.
Yeah.
He really. That's why I'll never. If they ever come up with evidence that he bet against his team, I would never believe it. I can't imagine Pete Rose throwing a game.
How would you ever figure that out now?
Well, I don't know.
Once
now
again,
no
it's
one
like
really
the rape
cares.
stuff. You wait 20 years. How do you ever prove it?
It's really over.
Yeah. Well, he's dead, so.
But Pete Rose died, and a lot of people.
Family?
And a lot of these. He was divorced twice. I don't think he ever married the most recent.
But no kids?
Oh yeah, he had a bunch of kids. One of them played. There's a term they use in baseball when a guy makes the major leagues for only a short time. The term is he was in the majors for a cup of coffee. Meaning they made it to a team.
It was quick.
Quick, had a cup of coffee, and then they got cut. So that was his son, Pete Rose Jr., had a cup of coffee in the majors, but never made it. But he had several other kids. I think he was dating like a woman like 60 years younger than him at the time of his death. That's so crazy.
Wonder what she was in it for. 60?
I think so.
Oh.
Maybe it was a lot. I don't know if it was maybe 50 at least, but I can't remember.
Wow, that's interesting.
But I'm conflicted. I really rooted for him when I was a kid. I mean, I'm not going to lie, because he played so hard, and but rest in peace, Pete Rose.
He lived a long life.
Yeah, he had an exciting life. Yeah. All right, let's turn the page. College football. There's only one game we're going to talk about Saturday. Number 4, Alabama played number 2, Georgia. Really good game. Alabama was up 28 points, and Georgia came back.
Right?
Yeah, that's a lot. Football. So Georgia came back and went ahead, and then Alabama scored at the end and won in Alabama. 41. I think it was 41-38.
34.
But really good game, and Alabama's called the Crimson Tide. Is their nickname in the field? Roll Tide because they're red, so they come out onto the field like this red tide. Oh. So their term for many years is Roll Tide, Roll Tide. Georgia's the Bulldogs. They're like Go Dogs, DAWGS.
So unique.
So they're like two of the best teams in college football played on Saturday night. NFL.
How's Miami doing?
They're horrible.
So
their
your bet was
quarterback's
wrong.
done. I'm wrong. One team I did like, if we pull the tape, is the Washington Commanders. They won again. They destroyed Arizona. They're 3-1 with their quarterback from LSU, Jaden Daniels. Kansas City Chiefs are 4-0. I was saying how I thought Travis Kelce would be no good this year, and he has been no good, but he played real well Sunday.
So you think he wasn't going to be good because of Taylor?
Taylor, and also he's getting older, and a combination of factors. So, and people were even talking about that he should be benched, but he had a real good game Sunday. So the coach said he's not concerned about Travis, that Travis is going to be fine.
I mean, you can't really tell these guys that can't have a relationship.
No, I'm certainly not saying that. I'm just saying you got to take care of business.
Yeah, it's true.
Tampa Bay Bucks, our hometown team, is 3-1. Most people didn't think they would be any good this year.
Yeah.
They beat the
Didn't
Philadelphia
they
Eagles.
Did Gronk step down too? Is that his name?
Gronk retired
He
a couple
retired
years
when?
ago.
What's his
He's
name?
on TV now. He's a broadcaster.
Yeah.
I think he retired a year ahead of Brady.
Oh.
They were longtime teammates.
Yeah.
But I like Gronk on the broadcast. I like watching Gronk.
Yeah, he's funny.
So our Bucks are 3-1. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who I thought would be great this year. They're kind of off to a little bit of a slow start. And the Minnesota Vikings, who most people thought would be horrible, beat Green Bay. They're 4-0. So we got the Vikings 4-0. We got Kansas City 4-0. And we'll see what happens.
All right.
Baseball playoffs start today. So I'm trying to think how many teams. I think 12 teams make the playoffs. So 8 are playing now, and then other 4 get what they call a bye because they had a better record. They don't have to play right away. So the games today and tomorrow are Detroit and Houston. The Detroit I talked about last week. Detroit made the playoffs.
All right.
Shout out to Detroit.
Wow.
Kansas City and Baltimore. New York Mets and Milwaukee and Atlanta and San Diego. So they're all really those 4 series are all really competitive. I don't think there's one that you can look at and say, oh, this is going to be, one-sided. They should be all really enjoyable games. So I'm looking forward to baseball playoffs. And that about does it, I think, for today.
All right.
So, again, we can't say it enough. Our prayers go out to the victims of Hurricane Helene. We got more hurricanes potentially coming. You see that?
3 more, right?
I mean, it's like, what the hell?
God.
No, the names are alphabetical order.
But do they have predictions of when?
I think it might be next week.
Oh, God.
It depends on which way they go.
Not looking good.
The thing where that gets to be an issue is, say you get hit with a hurricane, you get hit again. They don't know which one even caused the damage.
Yeah, right. How you filed the claim for or whatever. I don't know.
But Tominatorlaw.com. All right, I think that about does it for today, Morgan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.